Basketball was invented in 1891, and at its time, dribbling wasn't part of the sport. Years later, the concept of dribbling was introduced and changed the game completely. In this video, we're going to name every NBA team's all-time best ball handler. Now, a lot of choices are going to be determined through an eye test, because while there are a few stats such as usage rate, which can technically imply how well a player dribbles, otherwise why would they have the ball that much? But let's not kid ourselves, the best way to see how someone handles a ball is simply by watching them. Let's see if you agree with my picks, and speaking of picks, to find the best picks and award odds, check out the Game Day's NBA Pick of the Day. You can do that by clicking that top link down below or heading down to thegameday.com. The 76ers' best ball handler is probably the best ball handler period, and that's the answer, Allen Iverson. AI crossed over the GOAT of the sport while in a 76ers jersey. This choice needs no explanation. There's also the time he stepped over Tyronn Lue after some nasty dribble work. The Bucks' best ball handler is the Big O Oscar Robertson. He probably was the best dribbler in his era, and back in the 60s and 70s, an assist was even harder to earn. The player would have to score immediately after the pass for it to count. If the player who catches the pass dribbles themselves or hesitates, it wouldn't count as an assist. In today's era, Oscar could have easily averaged over 15 assists per game. His high assist total is thanks to his great ball handling and ball mobility, because he can move so fluidly on the court with the ball that at any given moment he can stop on a dime and dish out a pass or take the shot himself. As for the Bulls, now my Bulls pick might feel like a casual take, but hear me out. I am taking Michael Jordan, but not because he's the GOAT, even though he is the GOAT. I understand that in the triangle, ball handling isn't really necessary since players are either passing or shooting. It's very rarely you'll see a player dribble the ball inside that system, let alone Phil Jackson's triangle system. But just because Jordan didn't showcase his ball handling doesn't mean he can't do it. Take this play for example. He went coast to coast, all while evading 5 different defenders and dribbling all around them. That's massively impressive. With the Cavs, while LeBron James is a super underrated ball handler, he did play with one of the best ball handlers of all time, and that's Kyrie Irving. Kyrie's abilities to break ankles, finish at the rim, and dribble in a vacuum are nearly second to none. It's almost if he's got a string on those handles. As for the Celtics, while Bob Cousy is a Celtics legend who is the father of the behind-the-back pass, the Celtics also had prime Kyrie Irving for a few seasons, so for that, we gotta go with Kyrie Irving at this pick. The Clippers' best ball handler has to be Chris Paul, who had him at his prime. Not only was it Lob City, it was also Sob City during the playoffs, but Chris Paul is a unique dribbler because, say, guys like Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving are dribbling to evade a defender to find their own shot, but Paul is dribbling to get spots thanks to his high basketball IQ and court vision. His ball handling is not specifically for ankle breaking, but for setting up the right play. By technicality, you could put Allen Iverson at the Grizzlies spot since he did technically play 3 games with the Grizzlies, but honestly, it feels a bit hollow. I would rather give this spot to Ja Morant, who is not a better ball handler than AI. Let's get that straight clear out of the way, but through the lens of Grizzlies history, does Allen Iverson really deserve a mention? Well, maybe just the mention, but not the actual pick. That's what I'm getting at. Plus, let's talk about Ja's ball handling. It's quite underrated. It's definitely overshadowed by his dunks and sheer athleticism, but don't forget that this guy does have mad handles. Plus, he's fast with the ball. You gotta give him points for that. A lot of players slow down while dribbling. As for the Hawks, my pick here is Trae Young. Trae is so good at dribbling that he could dribble right through defenders as if they weren't even there. He's so good at shooting right off the dribble, which is not only a testament of his shooting ability, but also his ball handling ability, as it requires good form and balance to switch from dribbling to shooting in seconds. With the Heat, call me crazy, but my pick for the Heat's best ball handler is LeBron James. LeBron's ball handling is one of the most underrated aspects of his game. It so easily gets overshadowed by his passing and his dunking, but if you pay attention to his ball handling, he dribbles like a 6'3" shooting guard, yet he has the body of a 6'9" power forward. He's fast with the ball, he can be slow with the ball, and he's got great mobility with the ball. He is not a one-direction traveler while dribbling. Not many front court players can say that. With the Hornets, if we're going strictly ball handling, for the Hornets, I'm gonna have to go with Muggsy Bogues on this one. Kemba Walker's a close second, but strictly at the art of dribbling and ball handling, Bogues has gotta get my pick here. I would even say that without his ball handling, he wouldn't be NBA level talent offensively. It's really one of the foundations of his offense. Of course, he's an underrated defender, especially for a shorter player, but thanks to his height, it helps him be such a great ball handler. It also allows him to create space to shoot, to find spots, and good luck stealing the ball from him. It's definitely the foundation of his offense. With the Jazz, this no question goes to Pistol Pete Maravich. He may not have invented dribbling, but if someone told me he did, I wouldn't question it. That's just how good at ball handling he is. He's certainly on the ball handling Mount Rushmore. John Stockton is a fair mention here, but compared to Pete, there's no way he surpasses him at this specific category. Rest in peace to Pete Maravich. For the Kings, we easily go with the big O Oscar Robertson for the same reason why he got the Bucks pick at their best ball handler. As for the Knicks, let me tell you a little bit about prime Jamal Crawford, who was a starter, not a bench player. Everyone knows about the sixth-man legendary Jamal Crawford, but this is a starter Jamal Crawford playing in the Big Apple. And this was actually a really underrated part of his career. And believe it or not, according to Scott Davis of Business Insider, Jamal claims that he actually never even practiced a dribbling drill, which is all the more impressive because you would never guess that based on the way he knows how to dribble, that he just doesn't practice it. The Lakers is a tough choice because of course there's Kobe, who like MJ played in Phil's triangle and thus never really got to showcase his dribbling as much as other players did. Then there's a 40-year-old Steve Nash, who, prime Steve Nash, man, that would easily go to him. But my pick honestly has to be LeBron James. As explained in the Miami Heat selection, I think it's the most underrated aspect of his game, and he's really great at dribbling. With the Magic, my pick is Penny Hardaway, which Penny is not a point forward. He's actually a 6'7" point guard, and if only he didn't run into injuries. This guy may have won it all if he and Shaq stuck it all deep into their primes. Penny's ball handling can easily manipulate defenses and make it tough to guard him or stop him from getting where he wants to go on the court. Tag that with the fact that the dude's the size of a power forward, and you got one of the best point guards the game has ever seen. The Mavericks is a really close call between Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, and Luka Doncic. It's possible that Luka can get better at ball handling and improve his mobility, but speaking of court mobility, Nash can change directions at a given notice while dribbling. Luka is pretty good at this as well, but simply with an eye test, I don't think he's at Nash's level yet. And then of course there's Jason Kidd versus Steve Nash. And again, we're not talking passing or defense or two-way play, this is strictly ball handling. I gotta give this one to Steve Nash. He's faster while dribbling, and I think he's just got more control with it. It's hard to say it's an eye test here. I mean, I don't really got like a statistical argument. I just think it's more fluid on him. With the Nets, this no question goes to Kyrie Irving. It needs no explanation. This guy is easily one of the best ball handlers of all time, regardless of team. Speaking of one of the best ball handlers of all time, regardless of team, the Nuggets, no question, goes to the answer, Allen Iverson. The Pacers is a tough call. They did get 10 games and the bitter end of Tim Hardaway's career. He would have been my choice if they had primed Tim Hardaway for a full season, but let me remind you of pre-Olympics injury Paul George. George is one of the best crossover dribblers in the game. He can so easily shake off defenders with this technique. Plus, don't forget he's 6'8" while doing this. The Pelicans / New Orleans Hornets is no question Chris Paul, who is one of the best ball handlers regardless of team. The Pistons, though, is a tough call. Yes, Allen Iverson did play 54 games in Detroit, but honestly, how can you not have a ball handling video without the one and only Isaiah Thomas? It would be like having a passing video without Magic Johnson or a three-point shooting video without Steph Curry. Thomas spent his entire career in Detroit and is easily one of the best ball handlers in the NBA, all time. So is Allen Iverson, don't get me wrong here, but I think Pistons specifically, we gotta put Thomas here. For the Raptors, I have a really underrated pick, and that's Skip to my Lou, Rafer Alston. Rafer really looks like he's got a yo-yo string on that ball when he dribbles. He's a great crossover dribbler, has excellent mobility with the ball in his hands, and one of his best seasons took place in Toronto, where he averaged a career-high 14.2 points per game. Rafer also played for the Rockets, but how can we not go with MVP James Harden on this pick? James is an amazing dribbler. He's got a high usage rate, so he better be good at ball handling or else he has no reason to fear the beard. But of course there is a reason to fear that beard. James, even though on paper is a shooting guard, he runs up the court like a score-first point guard, many thanks to his great ball handling skills. Chris Paul is a close second at this spot, but since James is way taller, he's doing something way more challenging at that height. And I do think James Harden deserves the pick for the Rockets. Chris Paul has got too many other teams to worry about. Who's up for some spin cycle lessons? Well, if you are, then Tony Parker and the Spurs is where you need to go. Tony is so good at confusing his defenders with his spin moves that this can only be pulled off many thanks to his dribbling and ball handling ability. And now for the most controversial part of the video, Chris Paul versus Steve Nash for the Suns. Honestly, this can go either way. I wouldn't mind Nash at this pick, but if we're talking strictly ball handling, that's crossover ability, mobility with the ball, speed, you name it. And this is not an all-time overall list. This is not a passing ranking, strictly ball handling. I'm giving this one to Chris Paul, and here is my reasoning. I simply believe he's just got a little more in his tool chest from his reverse dribbling, hockey dribbling, crossover dribbling, his low dribbling, and his power dribbling. Chris Paul has many different types of moves that he can pull on you. Steve Nash does as well, don't get me wrong, he's a great dribbler. I just think compared to CP3, you gotta give this one to the guy who led the Suns to the finals, but choked anyway. With the Thunder, I gotta go with CP3 for many of the other reasons why he got picks on the other teams. For the Timberwolves, I'm going to take an underrated pick here and go with Ricky Rubio. Rubio might not have the best stats or the flashiest moves and other aspects of his game, but dribbling, he is quite flashy and reliable. He can dribble between the legs, around the back, change directions on a dime, and he can make for a great highlight film. With the Trailblazers, this one easily goes with Damian Lillard, no explanation needed. He's one of the best ball handlers in Blazers history. The Warriors is also a no-brainer here. This one easily goes to Steph Curry, who is easily a top 10, maybe even top 5 all-time ball handler. With the Wizards, I gotta go with John Wall, who is one of the fastest players in league history, and he's nearly as fast even while dribbling. He can dart around the court at lightning speed, and dribbling is pretty much not going to slow him down. So here is every NBA team's all-time best ball handler. Let me know what you think of this list and what you want to see in the future. Don't forget to dunk on that like button and subscribe with notifications turned on. I'm Rebound Rewind, and I'll fast forward to you later.